like to welcome everybody in the audience and in the viewing audience to the February 3rd, 2016 meeting of the Revere Conservation Commission. First item on the agenda is roll call. Member Vincent Lauria. Here. Member Ann Raponi.
Here.
Member James Sorboni. Here. I'm Andrew DeSantis, Chair of the CONCOM. Absent is Member Nick Malason. Absent is Member Joseph A. Lavallee. Absent is Member Vincent Camerata. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of January 6th, 2016. Member Lauria pointed out a couple of things to me. One on the agenda, I had the wrong date for the approval of the minutes. It says December 2nd, 2015. It's actually for January 6th, 2016. On the minutes, and the last item, motion by Member Vincent Lauria, second by Member Ann Raponi to adjourn. That should read motion by Member James Sorboni, seconded by Member Nick Malason to adjourn. Voted in the affirmative unanimously. Adjourned at 6:36 p.m. Do I have a motion to approve the corrected minutes?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Voted in the affirmative. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, notice of intent, DEP file 0610674, Global Companies LLC, 140 Lee Burbank Highway, Revere, rehabilitation of breasting dolphin system in the upstream end of the Chelsea River. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Voted in the affirmative. We have a representative of Global in the audience. Would you come up to the microphone, press the button so the light turns green? Push the talk button. Turn green?
Yep.
Okay. Introduce yourself, please, and let us know what you're proposing.
My name is Robert Welch. I'm with Childs Engineering Corporation, and we submitted the NOI application for Global Companies for the project to rehabilitate 2 breasting dolphins at their terminal in the Chelsea River. Give you a brief background, they hired us about a year ago or so to do an inspection on the dolphins, and we found some deterioration on the steel pipe piles that support the 2 dolphins, mostly due to corrosion losses and general deterioration in the fender system and such. So essentially, the 2 dolphins have kind of reached the end of their design life and need to be either repaired or replaced. So that's what our proposed project is to do, is to repair and replace 2 dolphins. The one dolphin is called Dolphin A, one other dolphin is called Dolphin B. Dolphin A is going to be repaired. The repairs are going to consist of steel pile jackets that are going to be installed around the 18 existing piles that are supporting the concrete cap there. And then we're going to drive an additional 16 steel pipe piles around that dolphin to increase its capacity. And then after that's done, we're going to pour concrete to encase the whole existing concrete cap and also encase all those new piles and the jackets and make it one monolithic concrete unit so they're all tied in together. Then we're also going to construct a new fender system out in the front, which is just 2 large rubber fenders, or 4 large rubber fenders, and they have steel panels out front. That's what the ship bursts up against, and the rubbers absorb some of the energy. And the other dolphin, Dolphin B, we're going to actually demolish that existing one and replace it with a new dolphin constructed just to the side of it. But the demolition won't occur until that new Dolphin B is constructed. And once that's operational, then we can demolish the existing Dolphin B. And there's a third smaller dolphin, we're calling Dolphin C, that's going to be built in between these 2 dolphins. Because with a new dolphin arrangement, some of the oil barges won't actually fit between the Dolphin A and Dolphin B, so we need an intermediate Dolphin to capture that smaller barge length, so they can berth up against the Dolphin C and A. And we're also proposing to demolish an abandoned existing concrete cap timber pile supported mooring Dolphin that's kind of almost off in the center of the Chelsea River. It's kind of an attempt at mitigation to offset some of the pile driving we're doing, and some of the third Dolphin cap footprint is going to be offset by the fact that this Dolphin's going to go away. So it's kind of almost a wash as far as the footprint of our new construction goes. And that's basically the extent of the project.
What do you mean by mitigation, just for channel width?
Well, mitigation in the sense that it's kind of an attempt to offset the environmental impacts of driving the new piles and constructing the third Dolphin C. So by constructing that new third one, we're removing an existing one, and we're going to pull the piles, so there'll be the net effect will hopefully be less of an impact to the mud line of Chelsea River.
Was there correspondence with Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries at all on this project?
There was. They received an application from us, and they sent emails to myself, and I believe Andrew was copied on them. They were basically discussing, I guess the only issue was really they're looking for the work prohibition window, which they wanted to do from February to, I believe it was October or November. And then I emailed them back, asked them if they had any ability to have some leeway with that window, because that'd be a very short construction period to work it out. That'll only be 3 or 4 months. So they reevaluated their work prohibition window, and they determined that if we went from February to June with the prohibition, that would still give enough protection to the fisheries in the river, and we'd have a few more months to do some of the construction.
And you're fine with that working water window?
Yeah. Yep.
Transmitted all the documents I had received for the Chapter 91 license, November 24th, letter from the Division of the Fisheries. I believe I transmitted to all the members documents I had received. DEP's Chapter 91 license, correspondence from Division of Marine Fisheries from November 24th. Was there something after November 24th, Rob?
I don't think so.
Okay. If you don't have that, I've got another copy here.
That's fine, Andy, I see that here. I was just wanted to hear it from the proponent.
I did have an email from January 8th from the Division of Marine Fisheries stating their revised work prohibition.
Okay, yeah, I didn't transfer that. I must have forgot to do
I
that.
think you're copied on that as well.
But if you'd like a copy, I can send that with the March package.
And we have received the Mass DEP Chapter 91 permit.
Yep, I had copies of that from January 19th.
Actually, that was just for the dredging portion of the project. We're still waiting on
Oh, I see, okay.
the license for the actual Dolphin repair work,
Okay,
which is ongoing. And we did receive the Army Corps permit for license.
anybody else in the commission? Questions for Mr. Welch? Anybody in the audience with any comments or concerns on this project? What's the will of the commission on this project?
I'll motion to close and issue an order of conditions.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Andrew.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Voted in the affirmative. Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
We'll sign this tonight. I'll make copies, and once I do that, then I can send it out to you, record it with DEP and send it out.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep. Here you go, Vincent. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, notice of intent of the city of Revere for Atwood Street utility improvements. Do I have a motion to open this public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Do I have a
second it.
All those in favor? Vote in the affirmative. You're going to present, Magdalena? John will? Okay.
My name is Magdalena Lofstedt. I'm a wetland scientist
Thank you.
with CDM Smith. And with me tonight, I have John Doherty, project manager with CDM Smith, and Angela O'Donnell, the project engineer, also with CDM Smith. And we're representing the city of Revere. We filed a notice of intent requesting an order of conditions for the Atwood Street Utility Improvements Project. There are several components to this project. It consists of rehabilitating the existing stormwater drainage system in Atwood Street and Roosevelt Street, as well as replacing existing sewer and water mains within Atwood and Roosevelt Street, and also completely rebuilding replacing the existing Roosevelt Street sewer pumping station and rehabilitating the Atwood Street pumping station.
Gentleman sitting in the audience, you interested in this project, sir? Yeah, if you want to come up and actually sit at the table here so you can see the plans, if they explain things, you can see what's going on, since you're the only one in the audience. Yeah, have a seat right here, and that way you can see, you're not looking at the back of the posters. Okay, so project engineer will explain it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is John Doherty. I'm with CDM Smith. I'm the project manager for this project. I'm going to give a broad overview, and then I'm going to turn it over to Angela O'Donnell, who is doing most of the detailed design work. So the Atwood Street neighborhood has a undersized drain that is corroded and falling apart. It discharges to the central county ditch. And as well, there's a water main that's corroded and had a series of breaks over the years. And there's also some sanitary sewer problems related to too much stormwater getting into the sewer system that cause sanitary sewer overflows. And the two pump stations are also older and in disrepair, and they require some repairs. So all of this work is being done under this consent decree that the city is making improvements with relative to the EPA and the Department of Justice. And this is a neighborhood that needs the repairs. And so on Atwood Street, Roosevelt Street, we'll be making these repairs. It's state, Mass DEP, state revolving fund is the funding source. And Nick Rice from the city engineer had wanted to be here tonight, but he could not make it, or he would be here speaking as well. And with that, I'm just going to let Angela give you the details, and then we'd be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, John. I spoke with Nick Rhinestone earlier today, and he expressed those same thoughts to me, that he fully supports the work here on Atwood Street.
Hi, I'm Angela O'Donnell with CDM Smith, and I'm the design engineer for the project. So I'd like to go into a little bit of detail on why we're replacing the utilities on Atwood Street. So over the past few years, there were a series of water main breaks, and as the Department of Public Works was coming out to fix the water main breaks, they removed portions of the water main, and it revealed that it looked like the soil, there were corrosive soil conditions that were eating away at the outside of the water main in. And there's a picture, I believe, on this poster that shows on the top of this poster the water main that was removed from the street. Now, this water main was only 20 to 30 years old, so considering it's a relatively new pipe, it was a little shocking how much the soil had eaten away at the water main. So we're proposing to remove the existing water main and replace it with 8-inch PVC pipe, which will hold up better to soil conditions. Now we're also proposing to do work on the drainage system. So currently there's 2 drains on Atwood Street. There's one reinforced concrete drain that varies from a 12-inch diameter to 18-inch diameter, and that discharges at the end of the street into the Central County ditch, just about in the center of the street. Now the second drain is a 24-inch corrugated metal pipe, and that discharges a little bit more north of the street into the Central County ditch. Now we noticed that there were a few sinkholes on the street, and when the city went out to address the sinkholes, they noticed that it was the 24-inch corrugated metal pipe that had collapsed, the drainage pipe, and that had collapsed in a few different locations. So we knew that something had to be done with this pipe. The other pipe, the reinforced concrete pipe, is in fair condition, but it's undersized to carry all the rain flow that comes from south of Revere Street, and it carries all the rainwater from Revere Street, Washington Street, east of Shirtlift. So there's a fair amount of flow coming down here. So we knew that we would want to upsize the drainage pipes that discharge into Central County ditch. So we're proposing to remove the existing drain and install 2 pipes. Right now we're proposing 2 30-inch diameter drain pipes to carry the flow down Atwood Street and then discharge into the Central County ditch. And also, as part of our investigation, while we were proposing to replace the water main and the drain, we wanted to take a look at the sewer to make sure we weren't missing anything. So we CCTV'd, which is when you send a camera down the sewer pipe to try and observe the existing sewer condition. And the existing sewers are PVC pipe, and they're in decent condition. However, the TV revealed that the sewer pipe has sags in it, and that's due to poor soil conditions. So if there's poor soil conditions that aren't compacted enough, the pipe itself will sag, which causes sewer backups. So I have another picture on this poster that shows water coming up out of a manhole, and that's actually a sanitary sewer manhole. So this was evidence that there's sanitary sewer overflows in the neighborhood. So to address that condition, we're proposing to replace the sewer in the portions where we notice the sags. And then, as John Doherty mentioned, there are 2 wastewater pump stations in the neighborhood. There's one on Atwood Street and one on Roosevelt Street. The wastewater pump station on Atwood Street, it's in fair condition, but while we're doing work on the street, we're proposing to replace the pumps and the rails within this pump station. And then the existing condition of the wastewater pump station on Roosevelt Street was in far worse condition. So we're proposing to replace the entire pump station and install a new wet well with new pumps to carry the wastewater on Roosevelt Street north to Washington Street. Now, following construction, so in 2017, because we're digging up so many of the utilities on Atwood Street, we're proposing to do full depth construction of the pavement. So that would mean we would dig up the subbase of the pavement on the road, and then we would go back and install new pavement, and we'd regrade the street properly so all the drainage would go into the new catch basins. And at that point, I can open it up for questions.
Anybody have any questions? Member Saboni?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First of all, were you able to identify the reason for the corrosion of the pipe drainage system on Roosevelt Street? Was it due to soil conditions, or understandably the new pipe won't be subject to that corrosion, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. So as part of our investigations, we dug 4 borings, or we drilled 4 borings So 3 on Atwood Street and 1 on Roosevelt. I'm not sure if you noticed when we were doing that work. And okay. Yeah. So we had drill rigs, and they drilled down 15 to 20 feet and took soil samples while we were doing the drilling. And we tested those samples for various metals, petroleums, and then we tested to see how corrosive the soils are, so we knew which kind of pipes to put back in the soil. And our test came back saying that it's moderately corrosive, which means we have to be conscious of what material pipes we're putting back in the street. So that's why we're proposing to put in PVC water main. For the drainage pipe, we are still between which material we'd like to use. If we were to go with the reinforced concrete pipe, it would have to have a special epoxy coating or admixture installed into the concrete to help protect it against the environment. And the new sewer pipe will be HDPE.
Okay, and so the connections to the new sewer pipe, how do you plan to make those connections? And how do you, is there any plan to evaluate illicit connections at this time?
Yeah, so I'm sure you're aware of the ongoing sump pump amnesty program. So we have been doing investigations in the neighborhood, meaning south of Revere Street, north of Atwood Street, to identify any illicit sump pumps or roof leaders, the roof leaders that may catch water off of roofs and then direct it illegally into the sewer. So what we're doing is a ton of investigations, and we're planning on redirecting those where appropriate. And I don't know if that answers your question.
That's fine.
Okay.
And I just had one more question. Has there been an evaluation of the county ditch and its ability to handle the increased flow?
Okay, I'll pass that off to John.
So on the Central County ditch, which leads to the Martin Street tide gate, that ditch can handle the flow, and what we've done is over the last couple of years, we have what we call level trolls at several places, both at the Martin Street tide gate, there's one up at Necco, so we've been monitoring that. One of the things the city has had us do over the last few years is develop a stormwater model. So we have a model of the sewer system, but we also have a model of the stormwater system, which takes into consideration all the piping and the sizes, and it also takes into consideration the ditches. So most of the runoff, even from this downtown area, makes its way down past the high school, eventually goes behind Necco, gets into the Central County ditch. Depending on tide conditions, we see different things going on. But what goes on in the Central County ditch is being considered as we size this drainage and stuff. And going forward, the Central County ditch, the Eastern County ditch, Sales Creek are all locations where the city may need to, going forward, take on improved maintenance. So there is this, does not appear to be a capacity issue in the Central County ditch, but the issue would be, at some point, we might be back to you, or the city might be back to you to do more heavy maintenance on that ditch in terms of getting growth out of it and all.
Yeah, so I would think that might be a follow-up, what the maintenance program would be, especially if the city's going to be responsible for that, and, invasive species control.
Yes,
things of that nature.
and one of the projects that's possibly going to occur this year is an investigation of the 60-inch pipe that goes, so if you have the Central County ditch heading towards Martin Street, at some point, just a little north of Atwood, it goes below grade, and that's a 60-inch, our understanding is that's a 60-inch reinforced concrete pipe that leads out to the Martin Street tide gate. Tentatively, that is a pipe that may be investigated this year or next year to confirm its condition and to see how much sediment has built up in that. But this project is related to kind of the overall issue of IDDE, illicit connections, of illegal connections to the sewer system. And so in the view of the DEP and the EPA, it's a good project because the entire neighborhood, really citywide, there are problems, but say specifically here, south of Revere Street, many of those homes are illegally connected to the sewer system with rainwater. So we're making an effort to identify those homes and have that rainwater go to the street where it should go. But doing that, we need to make sure that stormwater then can get off those streets and get out of there without causing more flooding problems.
Great, thank you.
So, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Sure.
When you're trying to figure this drainage out through the county ditch, are they taking the pipe from Revere Street, the water that flows down Cleveland?
Yes,
It's coming all into the system.
correct.
So why would this, the water overflows at Revere Street?
So
At the top of the hill, I can't figure it out. It goes over the top at Revere Street in Cleveland. And all this time, the city hasn't been able to figure out why the water doesn't run through this pipe all the way to Washington Street. I mean, they're not going to accomplish anything as far as,
So,
the water should be flowing before the pipe goes in, right?
yeah,
They're going to have it flowing. You did a flow test.
yeah, are you, so when you say the water isn't flowing, is it the,
It's overflowing at the catch basin.
okay, at the catch basins?
I mean, if we have just a heavy rain,
Right.
it doesn't take it down the street. I would think there's something wrong pretty close to the top of the hill, but nothing's, it never.
So we can look at that so this is close to the intersection of Revere Street and Cleveland?
It's right at the corner, even if you just.
Okay, that's something we would look at. So for example, one of the things we've done out here is the focus of this project was on Atwood, but the area that's tributary to Atwood is pretty much that entire area south of Revere Street, with the exception of a portion kind of little south of Revere Street and a little east of where we are. That drainage area runs the other direction. But one of the things that we did is, in trying to size the piping for us to handle the flows, we go back and we try to make sure there's actually enough catch basins and a big enough drainage network that could actually capture that flow. Now, the problem you're describing could be a very localized problem where a catch basin and a drain immediately like that is a problem. But I'll give you an example. Just the other day, they had a catch basin on Winthrop Ave that was known to overflow, almost what you're describing. And what we did is we had a company go out, clean the catch basin, clean the line, and we found downstream a buildup of leaves and debris in that drain line. And we cleared that, and we hope that's the solution. But we will look into that specific location that you've mentioned.
At the end of Washington Street. I had land on Washington and Atwood. When you go down to the end of Washington, there's a sewer that's kind of covered up.
Yeah, we uncovered that recently. There was a manhole that was buried.
You always had trouble with it.
Yep. Yep.
Now that's fixed.
Well, no, because the sewer, so that was paved over and buried manhole. We investigated that. We lined that cross-country section that went from Washington through the backyards of some people. Okay, and so we lined that, but the sewer system in the whole neighborhood may continue to have problems until we're able to make more disconnections from the people's houses that have rainwater going to the sewer. So that's one issue. And then the other issue, Angela didn't get to mention it, but from the end of Washington, cutting cross-country down to Atwood, there is another drain that is going to be upsized as part of this project. And it's shown on one of the plans that, so just where you're talking about, there was some sewer problems, and there may still be sewer problems until inflow or the disconnections are made from the sewer system, but in addition, there's a stretch of drain that is also being addressed. So the goal of the project is to fix the infrastructure now, but getting the illegal connections out of the system is something that is ongoing and can only be done as fast as people allow us to cooperate and to get into their property, confirm the disconnection, and fix it. So I think this is the end of Washington, where you were. Yeah. So there's an easement through there, and there's an existing drain line, but that drain line needs to be upsized to handle the stormwater flows from the neighborhood above it.
Could I get your name and address, sir?
My name is Andrew Sacco, SACCO. I live in 9 Washington Street.
Thank you. Any further questions, Mr. Sacco?
No, I mean, I know that drainage system you guys are looking at for the downspouts. I think I'm the only guy on the street that was looking forward to it, you know?
Yeah.
The people are just ignorant of it, so many of them.
Yeah, but part of it is educational, and I think we try to get information out, and we've had a reasonably good response by flyering neighborhoods, and,
That's
yeah,
how I started.
yep, and some people have come to us.
We opened the houses up.
Yep.
Anything else from members of the commission?
Mr. Chair, I have a question, please.
Go right ahead, Member Lauria.
With regards to the sags in the pipe that was mentioned, what's the confidence level or the concern that once this is done in other areas, we're not going to have similar sags over time?
So the existing sags in the pipe, when we TV it, we can see the sag. So the confidence is that when this new work is done, that it will be properly constructed, properly bedded, and put together right so the pipe will not sag. So the example would be is I don't know, I don't know why the existing system sagged, but typically in the engineering world, when you see a pipe put in and then you find a sag later on or after time, that's indicative that during the construction, the contractor didn't do a good job of dewatering the trench, providing proper bedding material, maybe providing a fabric to keep the fines out of the better bedding material, and it led to, over time, a sag in the line. So we know that, and so in this project, it's being, plans and specifications are put together with certain details and certain requirements, and in this project, there will be inspectors on site watching the work. I have no way of knowing when the neighborhood was originally built, whether that did or didn't occur, but, so the confidence is that a good contractor or a responsible contractor will win the job, and that between the city and the city's consultant, they will oversee the work and make sure they do it the way that it should be done so that it lasts 75 or 100 years. And one other, just one touch on one thing is
Go
that
ahead, John.
the two pump stations down there are maybe two of 13 or 14 wastewater stations in the city. And with the repair of these two pump stations, that will pretty much mean that over the last 5 years, every pump station, except for two, there'll be two more after this, but there'll be basically 11 or 12 of the 13 or 14 pump stations will have been upgraded and improved with various ways, and they have new controls and new alarms and new monitoring for the DPW and for the city engineer's office to keep track of the stations, and they will perform better, and that just adds to the overall thing. But in terms of the city making progress, these two pump stations gets the city closer and closer to being in compliance with the regulatory agencies and all, so. So if this project is awarded this summer, how much time did we allow, Angela? Okay. So what we expect to have happen is that a good contractor, or we'll specify the time, but this job most of the work would be done this summer into this fall and approaching Christmas. If the contractor has to stop for the winter, he will, depending on weather conditions and where he is in the work. And then it would be next summer that they would come back and do final paving. So say that we decide, as we get ready to go to bid, we decide that, we'll give the contractor a year or so to do the job. But the requirement would be that he does all the work and then he cannot come back and do final paving until after we've had at least 6 months or a winter to let the soil settle and stuff, so as to prevent, low spots or potholes or sinking of the soil. So, but I would say, there'll immediately be a lot of disruption. We'll have to coordinate with the police and fire department, especially with Atwood being a dead-end street. And then there'll be a rough pavement for a while, say over next winter, and then later next summer, it's anticipated that's when they would be all done.
I'm only curious, I don't live on Atwood, but I just curious.
Oh, sure.
How long it's going to be, because I saw when I had to hook up the sewer on my property, maybe 15
Good or bad? Oh,
He had all mud and mud, and he just kept piling the dirt, and he didn't know what to do. He was a small contractor. I think that must have been his first job.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, I have a question.
Member Raponi?
Yes, I'd like to go back to the sagging of the pipe, if I may, please. Generally speaking, I'm sure that you've come across sagging of pipes in the past,
yes.
okay? I had a similar experience in my own home with a pipe that sagged. And in most cases, isn't it due to improper bedding? In my particular case, the gravel that was supposed to be filled up to where it met the pipe, wasn't sufficient. So it eroded the gravel or stones that were supposed to be there, were not there to reinforce the pipe to stay up. And that one section did dip, and it was due to the fact that there wasn't enough support under the pipe.
Correct.
Is that the case in most cases that causes sagging?
It is. It's improper bedding of the pipe, or sometimes you could have a situation where a contractor put the right bedding in, but he didn't de-water or keep the moisture out of the trench while he was doing the work. Sometimes you could have really bad soils adjacent, and the good gravel could migrate or move into the bad soil. So
Right.
it's not just the gravel, it's the methods that the contractors use to do the work, but it's really their whole effort, not only materials, but how they go about doing it. And sometimes in the course of investigative work in sewers, we see some sags, and it's not worth the money to fix a
Right.
sag that is a minor sag.
Right.
But when it's a higher, as we rate them by percentages, and if we have a pipe that really sags quite a bit, say 50, 60%, it becomes a maintenance problem for the DPW, where it's a place where you can have clogs and blockages and buildups. So the decision to, first and foremost, you try to have it built properly and not really accept it until you're sure that it's good. But years and years later, if you go back, you find there was some movement or a sag. The city's decision to fix it will be really based on how many problems is it causing the DPW in terms of O&M, or operations and maintenance.
In other words, it's determined by how important is it?
How important and how much would it cost? What's the reward?
What's the good and bad?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? We have a motion to close the public hearing, issue an order of conditions which I prepared.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Voted in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sacco. Over time. You've been there a long time. Yep. Well, they'll have somebody on board and hopefully make sure it gets done right. Motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Voted? Adjourned at 7:39.